We don't
That's
know
garbage.
that much.
That is absolute garbage.
It is.
Continue. On one hand, you have the hard left, and on the other hand, you have the left.
Why are you
They're the both sides of the same coin. Because you walk into this room and you're not reading it. Let's focus on this thing now. I'll destroy you on that later.
I'm enjoying this.
Okay. You won't be for long.
Wow, guys, I don't know if you've seen it already, but Jessica Tarlov just said something so outlandish, Greg Gutfeld just couldn't agree. You guys gotta check this video out.
So a couple of things I would say real quick, and I know we're going to cover the politics of this, so let me stay a little more operational. First of all, ICE doesn't have the capacity. They don't have the resources to do deep prophylactic intel. They're not scraping the internet for cyber threats against ICE. You're going to have to use elements of DHS, et cetera. In other words, we're doing essentially domestic intelligence gathering for people, against people that want to harm ICE. We're going to have to do a lot more of that. It takes resources, it's going to take personnel, costs money. Police work costs money. This is something, the kind of thing that we traditionally think of having to run against, let's say, the Soviets, right? Back in the Cold War. We still do it, obviously, against Chinese, Russians, et cetera. But you need now, clearly, a really all-hands-on-deck approach to prophylactically protecting the people ahead of time that we're asking to do this legal work. Legal, no matter what Newsom says. Secondly, real quick, we need a domestic terrorism law. We don't have one. We use that phrase very, very commonly, very, very blithely. We say, oh, this is domestic terrorism. Everybody thinks the box is checked and that's it. Both sides of the aisle have problems with a domestic terrorism law. Reasonable minds can disagree about this because both sides are worried about it being weaponized against them. That comes from the designation piece. Donald Trump's.
Before we keep going, I understand if you want to click off, guys, because what Jessica Tarlov says literally makes no sense. Her go-to thing is just demonizing Trump. I've watched the video once because I wanted to make sure my thoughts were together so I could bring you guys the best content. But what Greg Gutfeld says, you guys won't believe it. You just won't.
Designation of Antifa, if nothing else, doesn't have much operational effect, but nothing else, raises the issue. What do you do when you have a domestic group that is essentially dedicated to overthrowing or counteracting violently the policies of the American government, legal policies of the American government? We don't have much of the capacity for that. And that's why, if you look deeply into it, Mangione, right? Ideological murder. You know what they had to charge him with federally to get that charge in? Stalking. And it's thin stuff, okay? And it's a real unique use of it. Realistically, if they do the same thing for Tyler Robinson, they're going to have to do something similar as far as I know right now. So we don't have a domestic terrorism law. It's time to take a close look at that. I have a piece dropping on Friday on Fox News website that delineates how I think we need to do it in a safe way. But we're kidding ourselves. If you look, Crooks, Ruth, Mangione, Tyler Robinson, Shapiro's fire. That was a lefty. ABC, the guy shoots up ABC studios because he doesn't like the way the Kimmel thing went. We had this guy that stepped into a wedding in Nashua. All of this is coming ideologically from one area. Eventually, do we have nuts in the right? Sure, of course. And eventually, you're going to get one. But right now, we're in the season of real leftist violence. It is something that we call domestic terrorism. We don't have the mechanism. If I was sitting where Congress is now, I'd like to see somebody on Donald Trump's staff say, crack the whip, let's start to look at this, because Congress has been MIA on this.
Jessica, you have never called ICE agents fascists or Gestapo, or Nazis. You've never done that, but there are people in your party that have done that. Do you think that's responsible?
Listen, I think that fascism and fascists is a very special category of people, and you should use it when it's really applicable and sparingly, because then people will believe you when you say it. And it has become too common to hear words like that. And that is a both sides problem. And last week we went through the litany of times that Donald Trump has used that rhetoric, and the fact that he came out after Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination and said the radical left did this, and then we heard a chorus of "we are at war." And that does permeate the entirety of American society, that they hear that from the top. We don't know
garbage.
that much.
That is absolute garbage.
It is.
Continue. When something terrible happens
Greg,
when somebody gets murdered, you are saying, how dare you be enraged by it? Continue.
No, what I say is How dare
There is no.
you
I'll give you the both.
blame
No, Jessica, I'll give you the
millions of
both sides.
Greg, why don't
I
you
agree with
listen
you.
to
There
me?
is both
Fire
sides.
her.
A week ago.
On one hand, you have the hard left, and on the other hand, you have the left.
Why are you
They're the
yelling
both
at me?
sides of the same coin. Because you walk into this room and you're not reading it. There is no both sides. You don't have the evidence for that.
That's not true.
You
Who
can't
shot up
say
the
that Donald
CDC
Trump
and
says
killed
this.
someone?
You guys act on it. You guys act on it. We don't. What do you want?
What do I want? I would like to talk about the specifics of who Vance Bolter actually was, since we fought about that last time, because you make it out as if this was just that he knew Melissa Hortman.
Let's focus on this thing now. I'll destroy you on that later. But focus on this now.
The thing that I've noticed is the Democrats are lying, the bullets are flying, and unfortunately, people are dying. And Jessica Tarlov still goes up here, and she's on a panel where no one agrees with her, but she keeps trying to spread these lies. My best advice to her is to go over to CNN, join Caitlin Collins, do a joint podcast or something. Just go hand people the mic. Just go hand people the mic, because that type of person is never going to see what Greg Gutfeld is trying to say. And week after week, month after month, year after year, Greg Gutfeld has literally been tapping me in right here. He's tapped me right here. He is actually one of the reasons why I switched to this side, because I heard him speak and I was like, this is pretty deep. Like, let me research some stuff. Now let me go back and look at any of the other videos, and it was just common sense. I was lacking common sense back then, but it was just common sense. That's all I needed. But Greg Gutfeld, he's one of those guys, man.
You want to go back?
Focus on this now. This looks like a kid that was inflamed either by the leftist cabal, or maybe he used his own eyes. And maybe he saw what's going on. Maybe there are people in his community who are being picked up by people from ICE. Maybe he saw raids at Home Depot. Or maybe he did hear J.B. Pritzker. He seems like a Morning Joe viewer to me, right? Someone who had tuned in, saw Hillary Clinton, and then went out and grabbed his gun. The common denominator in all of this is that we have young men, usually young white men, who have access to these guns and are carrying out these tragedies. They are nihilists. They live online. And again, do you think it's normal that people are writing on casings anti-ICE? They think that it's a joke. You look at Tyler Robinson's text messages with his roommate and partner, it reads like a joke. They just wanted us on Fox News to have to be able to read that stuff out loud. He even said it in the messages. So I get it. You're amped up. I don't think that I said anything worthy of that level of explosion.
Your rationalization of both sides. You have to understand, since Kurt's death, there is no both sides anymore, Jessica.
Why did the DOJ take down the study that showed how much right-wing extremism?
What study was that? Which one? The one in The Economist that was sponsored by a group run by a guy in Antifa? That study that has been discredited by the Federalists? You're walking down a really bad alley right now.
Federalists?
Yes. I actually did see, Jessica, I did the deep dive on that study. That study was authored by a project that was run by a guy who says he was an Antifa. That is why that whole thing has been scrubbed, okay? It's real simple. You label someone a fascist or a racist or a Nazi, it makes you free to attack them, and that has been the ideology from the start. It's weird.
So why?
No. Let me talk.
Trump does it.
What?
Just tell me why it's okay.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Great. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. You won't be for long. The left calls Trump a hate monger. They have called me a hate monger because I ridicule the left. I ridicule protesters. I ridicule academia, Hollywood, the news media. I make fun of The View every day. I make fun of the UN. Guess what? No one acts on the things that I say because my side doesn't do that. We say people are stupid. We say people are wrong, but we don't say they're evil. That is your game, okay? And then you come and you say, okay, man, this is a mentally ill loner. Well, who do you think does this stuff? It's not Ben Affleck. It's not Tom Brady. It's not even Carrot Top. People who do this stuff are always that way. The question is, who points them in that direction? Why pick ICE? Why pick
Exactly.
Kirk? Why target TV stations and put bombs under Fox trucks? Huh? Why vandalize memorials? Why kill kids in Catholic schools? Two things can be true. A person can be mentally ill, and you can be guiding him to that place in his life. That is how brainwashing works.
Wow, guys, just another rooftop, another rifle, and another shell casing note, and another lefty. It has to be hard for Jessica Tarlov to sleep at night supporting this nonsense. I just love that Greg Gutfeld just set her straight just now. We're all rooting for you, Greg. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let me know what you react to. We're out.